I'm used to, I don't know what I was doing. All right, good morning. Here are your students and their performance on this past progress management test. If you look at the back, there's Ms. Wilson, Ms. Jumper, Ms. Taylor. You can kind of look at that while I log in over here. I don't have to log you out. You don't know how to log out? Never log somebody out, you know? Oh, there you are. Okay. Oh no, how do you go to the Google thing? See, I haven't done my Google stuff on here. You know, like where you can just go to your Google stuff.
Should be
On your drive, file manager.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. That's so cool. How do y'all feel like your kids did on the performance or the progress monitoring test? You know, it was a confusion on how it was taken and everything. So as far as like the scores, I showed out right there from the beginning of the year, the progress monitoring and then their growth. So the beginning of the year and progress monitoring is the same test. And then, so some of them I highlighted red because they went down. Now that could be because they tested too fast, they weren't paying attention,
Right.
or, you know, it might be a student that you have to be right there on them. So there's lots of different things. And maybe they didn't click on the button to let it read to them. So there's lots of different factors that could go in. We're canceling the progress monitoring test for December. I know it's in the calendar, but me and Kelly talked to Heather, and there's just too much testing, too much stuff going on. We don't need to test now, and then when we come back, that first week, I think, or that second week, we're doing a middle of the year test. Well, it's the same test. So we're just gonna cancel this one. I don't know how we scheduled that out like that, but, so we're not gonna progress monitor this month. It'll be next month at the middle of the year, and then, so you'll have another column on there, and I'll compare all three. And so if they have a negative, and they go to MTSS, those are my big concerns, cause me and Yesenia, we were right there on them, paying attention to every single student. So if they did decrease in MTSS, those are some students that there's something else going on. For the most part, I looked at all of them, they increased if they were going to MTSS, which is what we want. But if they didn't, then we got our eyes on them. And if you have any concerns about some of the other ones, cause we haven't rotated kids out yet. And so we were gonna wait to the beginning of the year. So be thinking about when we come back, I think is that first day that we come back is a staff day, yeah. Which students, cause that's when we're gonna be putting together a new list of kiddos. So be thinking about which students are not necessarily just failing in your classroom, but they're not performing, they're not understanding math concepts. So be thinking ahead of time, you know, kind of mark them out if you want to. Email me later on if you want to, but we're gonna be starting to change it up. And I think next semester, the reason why we didn't this, cause we started so late. It's usually 10 weeks that we need a good full time with them, which this one was a little longer, but it was too short for the second round. But this next go around in January, we should be able to do 2 rotations. I think that's what we normally do, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, like one in January, we'll cut it off maybe by spring break, and then we do another one. And so, we'll have
When we
two
start
more
doing
rounds.
our tutoring, right?
Yeah, and if we do tutoring this year, I don't know if we will since we're doing it, you know, we might do a rotation, but I don't know specifically about tutoring. I don't know. Heather said something about it, but I
So
wasn't
we're
sure.
continuing after December for the.
For after school
Yeah.
tutoring, so there's your data, you can look at that, you know, if you have any concerns, let me know. And something else I wanna go over is this STAR data. There's readiness, make sure I give it to you all on the right side. Alright, so the front page is readiness, on the back page is supporting. So the readiness teaks are the main teaks that you need to teach. They're the main ones, they're always gonna be on the STAR. So there's reporting categories, there's no more reporting categories from last year to this year, but this is from 18, 19, and 21. 20 was skipped because of COVID, we didn't take STAR tests. So I'm just gonna quickly go through it. The reporting category number 1, in 18 we performed 74%. Then in 19, 71% as a grade level. This is as a grade level, sorry. And then in 21, 68%, so we had a drop down right there. Not too bad, but then it's broken down by teaks. Within category 1, there's 3.2A, 3.2D, 3.3F, 3.3H. And we can look back later on at what those specific teaks are. I don't have them memorized. Some of them I know what they are, but. So then in teaks mastery in 18, that's 2018, it's 76% got it correct, 84% got it correct, 82% got it correct, 87% got it correct. So that was awesome. That's great. Well, then in 19, you can see how low we dropped, like big increase, like from 76 to 56, 82 to 62, 87 to 49. Well, then in 21, we increased on 3.2A and stayed about the same at 3.2D, but we decreased even more on 3.3F. So in my eyes, what do y'all see is a need for category 1? Like which teak would you think we would really need to focus on?
3.3F.
Yeah.
3.3.
Yeah.
H. And COVID did not help us there, because that's when, you know, it will be lower, you know, or it is lower because that, you know.
Yeah.
That hurt us.
Yeah, 3.3F, I mean, it keeps going down.
So it's fractions.
Fractions.
Mm-hmm.
And see, that's a big thing for 3rd grade anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And what's 3.3H?
That one is compare two fractions having the same numerator, denominator, and problems for reasoning.
So together, fractions pretty much. So the fraction unit. So whenever y'all go over fractions, you might want to hit hard, or maybe during small group, really, really, really punch it in. Any extra activities, let it be fractions. You know, even now, have y'all gone over the main parts of fractions yet? Okay, so like every little chance, hey, here's a fraction page, here's a fraction page, or hey, let's do fractions, let's have a group, and you know, we have 3 people with red hair and 2 people with black hair, what's our fraction, you know?
Right.
2/3 or something like that. So every single little bit, because that's 2 teaks that's going to be on the STAR test, and we've decreased each year. So that's major.
That
So
surprises me too.
Yeah.
What surprises me at 3.2D is so good, that's comparing and ordering whole numbers.
Yeah, because that's where they are struggling.
Oh, you think?
Oh, man.
Well,
They are
see, and this is
struggling.
just the past 3 years, so maybe this year that will be a downfall. So if you see that struggle, get hard on that. You know what I'm saying? This is just what we've been doing. So it's good to keep in the back of your mind, hey, fractions is something, when I go over it, I really need to make sure all of my students understand. Radar the room, make sure there's no glossy eyes looking over, you know, make sure they're paying attention, stuff like that. Radar the room, seeing if they're understanding it. Category 2, I'm gonna scoot over to the teaks. Under 18, we didn't do so good that year. And then in 19, we did a little bit better. We increased on 3.5A, 96% got it correct, that's not bad. But then in 21, we're all failing, all of it. Every single area went down. And look at 3.4K.
What is
We went from 57 to 34%.
3.4K is solving 1-step and 2-step problems involving multiplication.
Well, and that's in 4th grade and that's in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
That's a major one. And so that's word problems, multi-step stuff. But that's a big decrease also. So normally we're performing in the 50s and we drop to 34. So, you know, for us to show growth for our campus, we need to be kind of showing in the 50s again. which other one do y'all feel like would be an area of concern? Let's try to pick like two in each category.
3.4K.
3.4K, what's another one?
Oh, we've already talked about that.
3.58.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that one?
3.58 is represent 1 and 2 step problems involving addition and subtraction. It's those 1 and 2 step problems.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, from
They wanna do-
96%, what did we do that year?
they,
96 to 49, like 96% for multi-step problems, that's rocking it.
yeah, and a lot of times, like, I've learned that when I'm teaching it, a lot of times it'll say,
It's logging out.
how many more donuts does Kim have than Jill and Sam combined? So I make a point to really focus on that than and draw a line and say, okay, we've got 2 steps. We've got how many more, this is subtraction, combined, that's another vocabulary, let's put them together, and then you have to, and that's helped me over the years.
Yeah.
But
I did yesterday. I said, when you see the than, think of the than as the middle, and you have 2 sides. And you need to make a balance.
Yeah.
You need to say who's in this hand and who's in this hand, and then after I did that, everyone was over here like.
that's a good
I'm like, okay,
idea.
now we're like goofballs from Star Test, like in our hands. What are y'all doing?
Yeah, but that's good, they
Yeah.
were picturing that, and that's where it might have to come down to, like, do this or something, like, so
Yeah.
that way they know, oh, so maybe we can start, instead of saying, hey, this is 2 step, balance it out, what do you think? And let them get that recognition and problem solve it. Woo, but maybe we'll jump it up this year. Look at category 3, I'm gonna skip over to 18 on the TEKS. We have 49%, 85%, 65%, and then we increased everything in 19, and then we decreased in 21. So, which 21, that's after COVID, so there's a lot of decrease over statewide. So we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves, but we can also be reflective and ask, what did we do in 19? What did we do in 21? Which I know y'all two are new, but we can look back, maybe we can problem solve think about what we did in those 2 years that was different, So after we go over this, we need to kind of try to think about it. If you think of something, we can email each other. So which TEK do you think we should focus on? In y'all's eyes?
And that's determine the perimeter of a polygon or a missing link when doing perimeter.
Yeah.
So perimeter, so that's gonna be those problems that have,
We've got it coming up.
oh, do you?
Yeah, they
You might have
don't wanna
8,
add all of it.
4, 3, 2, 1, but this one might have an X, and so they don't know, they'll just add all of that up. Well, you've gotta figure out, it might say perimeter equals 48.
So you
Well,
have
have
your
to add it all
total,
up, you
yeah.
have your total, you have to add this up and subtract it, so that's a multi-step problem in itself. And so, that's gonna be hard for them. So when we go over that, we just need to maybe pull back during small group, really, who's not paying attention, pull them back. Who is not performing well, pull them back, even if they're high or low. 'Cause some of our high kids, if they get this wrong, then, it can drop us down quite a bit, they should be able to get it right. Some of the struggling students, it's gonna be pretty rough for them. And then category 4 is just one of them, and we've done decent on that. Which 3.8A, what is that?
Summarize a data set with multiple categories using a frequency table, dot product, graph.
They love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not that hard. They like it too. So we have kind of a plan. We have a knowledge of what we need to be looking forward to. So when we're going over these TEKs, which ones do we really need to focus on? And I feel like that's starting it right there. Now the supporting, we're not gonna go over the whole thing. They don't. So I highlighted the ones that are blue under TEKs. They just, on the STAR test in 18, for example, 3.2B on top, they just tested that one time in 18. So in 19 and 21, they didn't even test that. So 3.3C, they tested it in 19 and 21. So if it's highlighted purple, they've tested it more than once. So that tells you that more than likely, they're gonna test that teeth again. We're not sure, but that's been the pattern. And so, you can kind of see which ones are major. From 21, if you look down that column in the percentages, it's not horrible. 46% FC is the lowest. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 3.4G. And it'd be under the yellow.
That one is use strategies and algorithms, including the standard algorithm, to multiply a 2-digit number by a 1-digit number.
So that's multiplying. They're gonna have to, yeah, there's the facts right there, and that's the major part about facts. That's why I'm shocked about the homework thing. We're gonna have to figure out, maybe we can, well, this goes into the next thing. Scheduling for small groups. We need to set out a plan of what we're gonna do. We've talked about it, we've talked about what small groups are, but let's put a time frame on these items. So we have 90 minutes of instruction. So if we break it apart, and this is just an idea of what I wrote down, so, butt in, tell me, if it's not gonna work out. If we do 90 minutes, we have 60 minutes of whole instruction. You can break that apart. You can do 30 and 30 whole of you teaching it, going over it, and then the other 30 minutes, kind of independent, working back and forth, reviewing, walking around. And then the last 30 minutes of class is when you meet with your small group, which is MTSS. They don't get pulled out for MTSS, but it's MTSS in the classroom. It's not pulled out MTSS. So there's two different things, just to make sure I say that. During that 30 minutes, maybe we can do problem solving during that time. Maybe when they come back here, some of the higher kids and middle kids, maybe you can pair them up and they do problem solving together. Unless it's one that we have to go over, because I know Sharon Wells, there's some that you have to do. Skills you have to do on some of them. So maybe it's one skills that we for sure have to do, you can pull them back, and then everyone else, partner up, work together. Maybe it's the spiral views, which I'm gonna go over that here in a little bit. Or what if we did the 60 minutes of whole instruction? You do, well, I had 30 and 30. What do y'all feel like on the time frame of that? When you're teaching the Sharon Wells, y'all go the lesson first, and then how do y'all lay it out?
Well, it depends on the week. If we have not had a lot of class time, full class time, then we're gonna hit the lesson first. If we have, then we're gonna try to pull in some problem solving, some skills. Usually basic facts, they come in and start that. They do that independent, cause it's just multiplication, it's just repetition, but yeah, it just differs because there's been a lot of interruptions this year.
Yeah.
Trying to get stuff in and,
Well, and that's one of the things I expressed to Heather, there's just interruptions that's taken away from class time in a way.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get all of it in. And so we just gotta try to, I feel like if we put a time frame on it and maybe we hold ourselves accountable, then we can adjust from that. Like, hey, this 30 minutes is not working. We need 40 minutes. Or hey, 30 minutes is way too long. Let's back it down. We need just 20 minutes for, my thing is, I don't want y'all up there the whole time speaking, the whole time teaching, whole group, because you're not gonna reach all your students that way. There's just absolutely, it's not gonna happen. So, we need to talk about time frame. Do y'all feel like 30 and 30 is good? 30 minutes teaching, the main lesson, going over it, everyone has their binders out, you're going over the main part, and then 30 minutes, either you're back here or maybe you're walking around, helping them finish those worksheets underneath there.
Well, and something that'll help, and I've done it in the past, and I've done some of it this year, just hit and miss, but you have, in Sharon Wells, you have problem solving, basic facts, skills, and then your lesson. So, one day I may teach, 1A in problem solving, or in 1A in skill. Well, the next day when they come in, they're, why everybody's coming in, before we start class, they're gonna do 1B problem solving, they're gonna do 1B skill, and then by the time I get ready to teach, they've already got that done. All we have to do is go over it and check your work.
That's how I did it in 4th grade.
Well, and that helps on time. but,
because they're previewing it almost. And so they've already
Yes.
seen it, you don't have to, like I was talking to both of y'all yesterday about how, you know, you just, when you preview something, you're getting those struggling students. Because if you just read it one time, they didn't hear it. You know, for
Right.
them to hear it 2 or 3 times after you repeat it,
Yeah.
you're getting some of them, but you might not get all of them. But for the majority, you're gonna get them when you repeat it. So them previewing it and working on it already is gonna save you a lot of time. So it won't look as bad, you know, 60-30.
yeah, I usually, you know, we come in here at 9:30, I usually do my multiplication video for the, you know, whatever we're studying that week. Then I go into my lesson and I'm done by 10 o'clock. 10:05, then we're independent.
So you have about 35 minutes or 20, you know. And I was telling both of them, you know, my small group, when they come to see me, I don't see them for a full 30 minutes because they have to walk and travel to me. You know, sometimes they have to use the restroom. We get out folders. We do basic facts over there. We're on only addition and subtraction, but we do basic facts. And then so I usually have about 22 minutes with them to work in small group.
Right.
So I have 3 or 4, or I probably have 2 or 3, and then my other 2 or 3 are on the computer on MobiMax. And that is something that is going to help. We do have MobiMax now, and I know we haven't had a training for it, but it is really, really good. The basic facts on there and the reports on there are great. There are some things that are not great in my eyes as far as like if they fail something, then it just kicks them on to the next thing. It doesn't make them redo it again. You have to go on, look at their grades, and you can click and reassign it to them. So in Education Galaxy, you can't do that. It just automatically, hey, you can't go on until you complete this. That's great, but the program is better, I feel like, than Education Galaxy. So that's something that we can put in under the 30 minutes of MTSS time, is MobiMax time or Education Galaxy time. And I feel like Heather's gonna be fine with it, because we do have too many programs. I feel like if y'all decide as a group, hey, let's do Education Galaxy, then that's the one y'all need to stick to. Just because we have all of these doesn't mean you have to do all of them. Now, next year I know will be different. We probably won't have all of them. It's just, this is a weird year, we have a lot of them.
Yeah.
Which, and usually we don't, so,
But she does want us to use the MobiMax because she said that it's gonna take the place of Renaissance, Education Galaxy. It's gonna take the place of all that.
it is.
So,
That's
good
what
to
I was
work
about to
on
say,
it,
so
yeah.
I would go ahead and just get your feet wet in it over Christmas break, or even right now, playing around with it if you have extra time, like that last week before we let, you know, get out. There's a lot of activities and stuff going on, so maybe we can just get it in and see how they do with it and get your feet wet with it also. But it is good, and I do like it, and it has great reports, and it shows growth. All of my kids have shown growth. So like this data report that I showed y'all's class, on my sheet, I have MobiMax on there, and the kids that I see, and they've increased a lot, and so that's a good thing. I guess the last thing I wanna talk about is, this is something that I've used, and it's a spiral review also. It is for 3rd grade. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't handle that noise. Woo-hoo-hoo. And I have the whole thing, and I think I've shared this one with y'all. If not, I can share it with y'all.
We
It's
did that
online.
1 year. Yeah,
It's online if you want it online, or you can print it off on paper, whatever, you know, which one you want. There's just a year at a glance, that first page, the different teaks, so you can go to the page 16 if you are talking about, or actually, let's just go 2-step word problems, addition, subtraction. Now, these are Common Core, but that would be under week 7, so you go to week 7 to hit home with that. That might be a paper that you bring back to the small group. So it's broken out, and the reason why I use this in intervention is because you have STAR, which is the below grade level, and then you have HEART, which is at grade level, and then you have the APPLE, which is above grade level. So when they're coming back to me, if I'm having my highest kids, we're doing the APPLE, and it's a little bit harder problems. You can see kind of well, they didn't do the same thing. They didn't do the same week, so it's kind of hard to compare them, but we can compare it here in just a second. This is, you know, very simple, and it gets a little bit harder, and then there's some challenging stuff in the above grade level. So that helps with differentiation.
I like that.
You can, it automatically does it. and you can assign it to them. So if you want, your higher kids, while you're back here working with the middle and then the below, your higher kids can be working on the Apple, on Google Classrooms or whatever you want. I was gonna show you an example of it. Morning work, homework, which we've talked about homework, practicing math center work. Alright, so here's week 39 and it's the star. And so the way I don't see the kids 5 days, I only see them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So the way that I do it is I just pick certain topics throughout there. So we might do 2 a day, or we might just do 1 a day until we get the whole thing done, and then I give them a reward. But since y'all have 30 minutes, you might want to just, for 30 minutes, just do day 1, or day 2, or day 3, day 4, day 5, and then maybe take that as a grade. That might be a good grade paper. So star is below grade level, right? Yes. Yeah. Below grade level, oh, that's week 40. Here's the other one. This is on grade level. I wish I could compare the two. It would make it look easier. But for instance, like the round, there was smaller numbers on here. So it's increased the numbers. So it's the same topics all the way throughout, but you have smaller numbers, which is easier for those struggling students because you're filling in those gaps. They're not on 3rd grade right now. They're on 1st grade, so that's why they're simpler numbers. Let's go to the Apple 39. See, now you're in the thousands. So everyone should be performing here, but realistically, not everyone is. And so there's just bigger numbers, different, there's addition, subtract, word problems and stuff like that. I like this and I used it a lot in 4th grade. So that's just something I'll share with y'all, and if y'all want to pull it back. Now, during small groups, not everything has to be the same in my eyes, and I don't know how y'all want to work that out, but you know your students, and that's the purpose of the data and the instructional report on Renaissance. You can see, hey, my kids, they understand addition, subtraction, word problems. We really need to work on fractions. So maybe your class needs to work on fractions, but maybe your class is not, they got fractions. They need to work on the addition, subtraction, word problems. So during that time is where it needs to look different because it's your kiddos and every kiddo's different. So, y'all have any concerns, anything else you want to talk about? We've talked about the schedule. We've talked about different things we can add in. We've talked about the results and like which TEKs we need to really focus in on. Does that sound like a good plan?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I think that looks good. You are doing a great job and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Surely that got it. If not, then